databases. Now I'm working at Elasticsearch, and I'm in part of the Logstash team. I used to run the graph dev room at FOSDEM. So I guess everyone here knows about FOSDEM. Someone doesn't know what FOSDEM is? OK, FOSDEM is the free and open source European development meeting in Belgium. With all my respects to this conference, this is the best conference ever. It's completely for free, so if you like Belgium chocolate, it's the best excuse to go. Yeah, and I have an awesome family, myself, and I like to enjoy life and running. That's going to be a big important thing here. And let's try to make this happen. This is basically what you're going to see at the end, more or less. If you want to ingest logs, it's basically like a long process. You dump your data, you process it, and you do a few steps. What I'm going to try to show here is how to do it with the Elastic Stack. And this means basically trying to make this demo happen. To make this demo, what I will do is ingesting. As I said, I liked running. And this is kind of a sports that you get all these gadgets, you know. You get Runkeeper, you get Strava, you get Ubuntu things, But I like it to make it my own. And in here, what you're going to see is how to ingest this data. I dump and this a lot of TCX files. This is a bunch of XMLs that looks like this. This is actually from my watch that I use when I train. You get things like maximum speed, distance, total distance, position, the time that happened, latitude, longitude. You can send all this data to Garmin, to all these places, but I try to make it myself so I don't send all this data to them. To ingest this data, we are going to use, first of all, a very nice tool. That's what Monica presented yesterday. This is called FileBit. FileBit is going to be the responsible of reading this bunch of XML files, doing something extra important, that is to shrink them in one line, so apply multi-line, and send them to Logstash. Logstash is going to do some processing on it, like interpreting these XML files, extracting the data, and sending them to Elasticsearch. And from Elasticsearch, what we are going to do is to create nice dashboards with Cabana, that will let us basically have our own sports tracker. This means getting us something like this that we see here by the end of the day. So let's start making this happen so everything is running. First of all, before I just jump here, everyone knows what Elasticsearch is. Everyone uses it in production. So Elasticsearch 5.0, very important. This is going to be the new release for everything. This is going to be around summer, and you all are encouraged to download it, test it, and find bugs. There is something called, I don't remember the exact name, but there is a program that if you find bugs and report it, you are going to be somehow gratified later on. So Elasticsearch basically runs as a targz file, RPM. But I'm going to be using here the targz. You basically untar it, and you execute it. This means Elasticsearch starts to do some things. Next stuff to actually run is Logstash. Oops, hit F. Same thing here. But as I said, Logstash needs his own configuration file. And this means I already untar it. This means going to his own language. Everyone knows what Logstash is? Basically, it's a tool that you can ingest all your data to Elasticsearch here. It uses the bit input. Bit input is basically the the plugin in Logstash that lets you connect the file bit with Logstash. This is hearing to one port that you can change it, obviously. And it has something very nice. That's a congestion threshold here. This means if Logstash is too busy because of any reason, it tells which amount of time have to be waiting. And file bit is very important for this thing because file bit is always going to wait. So it's never going to lost any event that you're trying to send to Logstash. We're going to see this later on. This filter, GPX, is actually this thing here. Not this one. It's this thing here. This is a custom filter that I made myself to actually filter the data that we saw before. Is all of you know how to make a Logstash filter, a Logstash plugin? So you basically have to know a bit of Ruby. You get a bunch of examples in the Logstash plugins organization that you can use to copy and paste somehow. And you basically have to write things like this. You always inherit from some filter or input or whatever class. Give it a name, bunch of configuration things. Basically what this is doing is this stuff here. For GPX is one kind of XMLs that you can generate. It calculates the distance. It interprets it loads the XML file. Same thing for here. It calculates the distance, max speed, calories, time in seconds, piece. All the processing that's necessary to extract this information from here. This is basically how this filter looks like. This is obviously on the internet if you want to play with it. And then it's going to outputting the stuff to Elasticsearch. So one important thing from here, if you use Logstash in production or in your environment, Logstash provides a default template. The default template is good, but my best tip for you is don't use it. Try to use your own, because the default template is there for a general case. And you all know your particular case and how to create your own mappings and your own things there, to be more efficient. So best advice is try to use your own. And here is how you can actually override your template. Oops. Let's not scrub this. This is how a template looks like. I'm not going to go through it, but basically why I created a new template is to explain this, that you should create your own. And basically because I got some properties here that are required to be like geopoints, because these XMLs have geopoints on it that I want to map somehow. So before we move forward, we actually need to do one thing that's very important. Logstash plugins, install. Plugins filter. What I'm doing here, I'm trying to install this GPX custom filter that we saw before. We have many options to install things in Logstash. We can install it from a gem, from a local file system. We can install it from Ruby gems on the internet. We can install offline stuff. So we got you more or less covered for all the situations that you can that you want to install your plugins. Basically, install this plugin here. Run successful. So now we can tell Logstash to run. And it's going to take a bit of time because it's Java, so you have to wait. And it's going to run. Yes? So we got Elasticsearch up and running. We got this thing up and running. Next important stuff to get on is FileBit. FileBit comes like the other guys in AtRGZ, RPM, deb. It comes support for Windows, for many things. You see on it. I already untitled this. Important things to see here is this stuff. So FileBit gets a set of prospectors that basically means the data that he's going to process here. What I'm doing here is I told FileBit to read a bunch of files, a pattern that's asterisk.tcx in this directory. As it works on Windows, you can do the same thing on Windows. Yeah? You don't have to do the extension. You can do this asterisk like everyone. Yeah? You can use encoding. You can give it a type. And best things ever here, actually, because it's something I really like, is this stuff here. This is the multi-line filter. Multi-line being in Logstash, a pain, a real pain. Because for multi-line, what is important is that you get the sense of the identity. Because you get a bunch of lines and you have to reunite them after all, right? Yeah, this is. So if you do multi-line, best advice for you is do it at the source level. Because in this case, FileBit, when it's reading the XML, knows the identity, knows I'm reading a file, I'm starting this stuff here, and I'm reading a bunch of lines, and I know this file ends. It's better to do this multi-line stuff at the source than doing it, at the Logstash level. Because, yeah, multi-line in here can be easily done, more or less. So what this is doing, this is actually looking for a pattern. XML is saying that much after this, you can do several strategies here. Important thing that I changed the default is the max lines. So there is somehow have to be these maximum lines that are combined in one event, but my XMLs are huge. So I need to change it somehow. Yeah. If there are questions, you can interrupt, don't worry. But I'm going to move forward. So best advice from here and tip from here is if you do multi-line, do it at source level. FileBit is your friend for this. Multi-line is a pain because every stack trace looks different and every kind of multi-line event looks different. So don't hesitate to contribute this to the information, so to the logs, to the FileBit repository, to the discuss forums, because as much different stack traces or multi-line events that we have, we can compile more information about these patterns and actually make them available for all of you. Yeah? So how do you run this stuff? Oh, no catch. OK. So basically like this. FileBit is a command, is a binary, write it in Go, that, yeah, you can just execute and runs. FileBit is going to keep a file called .filebit. That's going to be like the registry. That's taking care to know what things happen and how this stuff is evolving. As we see here, it should work. Yeah, you see, here we see some dots. These dots are a good sign because this means that it's processing some stuff. Yeah, this is important. One thing that I hope we see soon, yeah, is this one here. So as far as the XML processing is slow, yeah, it takes a lot of time for the Logstash to process and to get until the end. So this is giving you this warning. It's telling you there is a circuit breaker in the input that tells you I'm very busy, and tells the FileBit you have to wait. You're closing connections, and yeah, I'm making sure that the pipeline gets all the information processed before it can continue. Yeah, make sense? So now we got all this set up, and last but not least, important bit. Because we want to actually make some nice dashboards, is Cabana. Cabana comes with like the rest of the stack in many flavors, but I'm going to use the AtRGZ because it's easy one. Cabana is all of you knows about Cabana. Anyone doesn't know about Cabana? No one knows about Cabana? I'm surprised that no one knows about Cabana. Yeah, so with Cabana, you can make dashboards that are basically the best things to understand your data. Because we all love JSON, we all love log lines, but at the end of the day, we need some nice pictures to understand how these things evolve. Yeah. Cabana comes in many flavors because this is an Node.js application. So you have to download your own package for Darwin, as I made, or Linux, or Windows, on everything. And Cabana is really easy to execute. Bin Cabana. And he will start, hopefully, and it always listens to this port, to the 5601. You can change it, obviously, in the configurations, etc., but And if we go here, nope. If we go here, and we do like this, Cabana is working. Welcome. This is how Cabana 5.0 looks like. One second. Important things on Cabana. You have to tell Cabana from which index you are reading. So this is this important bit here, like logstash, dash, and this asterisk. This means Cabana is going to take all the logstash, dash indexes. As you know, in logstash, by default, we create an index per day. This is a very important tip. As you create these date-based indexes, when something is too old, you can just simply close it and put it to a cold storage, etc. Yeah, so for time-based data, it's very important to follow this pattern. We create this index pattern, and we see, like, all this schema has been loaded here. OK? So now we started the demo. We will let the demo go through it, and we will continue with some explanations here. Just let me, oops, what happened now? Yeah. So while the demo is running, we will make sure we let the demo work for a bit, and we continue trying to tell you what is cooking in Logstash and the rest of the stack. Yeah, it takes a while to process. That's a huge amount of XML. It's my last year of training. This means a lot. So what's cooking in Logstash 5.0? Most important thing ever that happens recently is metrics. One of the biggest complaints for Logstash is why Logstash is not working. What's the throughput that happened that's going through the whole pipelines? So we introduced metrics to provide you basically initial answers to all these questions. What's the current throughput? This information is broken by plugin instance, so you can actually know if one plugin is being extremely lazy, like my XML filter. You can ask Logstash about the memory consumption, so you can be sure that you are maybe gonna be OOM. You can ask for the hot threads. This is very important because if something is stale or is not willing to do any more work, you can look it here, and not now, but on the future, Logstash is going to have many nodes because you can have 2, 3, 100 different Logstashes together, and we are working on features to actually let them communicate somehow. This is how the API looks like. So it's basically like a web API, JSON-based. If you have ever used the Elasticsearch web API, this looks similar, as similar as possible. Yeah, we get hot thread information like this. We get stats. One important thing that we introduced is this end kind of event, the terminal thing here. So this is stats resource. It's going to give you all the stats of the node. And for every key, you can actually narrow down if you just want the events. You get JVM information. You get plugins information. Yeah, because you want to know, for example, which kind of plugins do you have installed, or what's the throughput that happens in a given plugin or not. This is how the hot threads API looks like. Yeah, we see percentage of CPU time, the state of the thread, the stack trace. Same thing here. If you ever use or consume the hot threads API from Elasticsearch, this does basically similar thing. Because we are here in JRuby world, we need to change some stuff, but it's doing basically the same thing. One nice thing from this stuff here, it is that it, especially for this one, but it correlates to other stuff, to other APIs too. We have this human interface, his human parameter. So if you just put here the human parameter to this API, it gives you plain text. If not, it gives you JSON. Because a good idea would be to actually, for example, pull this from your Logstash logs, from your Logstash API, and try to monitor if your Logstash is still alive, or and in the throughput, etc., etc. And last but not least, this is what's coming next. So we make this web API, and for now, it's just reporting from one single Logstash. This means that it's not storing any data. It's just telling you the current pipeline stats, current Logstash stats, etc. But on the feeder, we want to actually get this data sent to Elasticsearch node. End of the day, this means we can have the Marvel or monitoring for Logstash here. Yeah? Questions about the API? No questions? Next important bit for Logstash that changed recently is configuration management. Whoever had the problem in Logstash configuration, like a grok filter that need to be updated, and need to stop Logstash, change the configuration, start Logstash again, discover that the pattern is wrong, iterate. I know, this is a pain. So what we did is we introduced config reloading. This means in 5.0, you get a config file that if you change something in this config file, Logstash have a watchdog that's trying to see when changed and reloading the pipeline. It basically takes care that the current pipeline is a stop, does the config validation, and if everything is correct, it restarts himself. You can trigger with a SIG hub. This was introduced in 2.3, but you need to update it yourself. You need to just enable yourself this feature. Yeah. So very important stuff for the pipeline config reloading. Yeah, so you don't need to actually restart anymore. Another stuff that's very important, and that actually the config reloading is the first step, is how do you share this configuration? So yeah, sorry. Transitions in the slides are the worst thing ever. So you get your collection of Logstashes, and this is coming. This is still not in master or any branch. This is coming, but the idea, so after you get config reloading, is you get a config file, that you share by many Logstashes. So you can actually, create something here, upload your configuration to Elasticsearch, and then you send this configuration to your collection of Logstashes. Yeah? This means, then when they get this new file, this new configuration, they can apply it because you get config reloading, and you are basically doing this config management thing for Logstash. Because another pain in when you manage a huge amount of collection of Logstashes is how do you update, 3 or 4 configurations all at once. Next important bit that changed recently too is the Java event. So all of you love Ruby, I guess, and I hope, but Ruby and it's still, like this super magic language that lets you do a lot of things, but in our case, in Logstash, is living on top of the JVM. So if you want to get more speed, you have to go down to the JVM, to the pure Java. This is what we try to do here, but not just because of speed and performance. We try to do it because not everyone is a Ruby lover. Some of you like Scala, some of you might like Clojure, or some of you might like Python. What happens? If we go down to the Java level, we enable people to create plugins in the language they want or they use. Because if you are in a company that have full of Java expertise, you maybe not feel so comfortable to create your filters with Ruby. This was introduced in 2.3, was reverted in 2.3.1, and is on track for 5.0. Why it was reverted? Because one of the things that we introduced with the Java event is mutation constraints. In the Ruby world, we like to mutate everything, But yeah, as the ones who likes functional programming, mutation is not good. So every time you mutate your event, you have to be aware that you mutate your event, because otherwise you can introduce slightly different changes, maybe a data type change, maybe something else, and then you get problems. So one of the things that we are working very hard is to make all these events, transformations, less and less painful. That's why it was reverted. Because one important thing that we try to focus ourselves is only break things on major versions. This never been like this in Logstash, I know, but we try to keep to this. So if we break something, it's major version release. It obviously provides the foundation to the persistency. We are working very hard to deliver persistency for Logstash. This means Logstash get an event and keep it on disk, so you don't have all the events in memory. That's what happened currently. Yeah, and enable not just Ruby plugins. This is very important. Talking about performance, do you see this thing here? This is actually from our performance side, benchmarks, that tries to benchmark the filtering performance. Oh, that's nice. Our filtering performance, So this was the jump that happens. So we get from something like 9 million events to more than 12, just to change the event class. Because this was when the event class changed from Ruby to Java. You can imagine when we change the pipeline execution from Ruby to Java. So this is kind of growing and growing. This is important. And the other changes. You don't get the joke? That's a movie called The Others. Offline. How many of you have offline environments? Is any of you working in a big bank that they don't let you install things from the internet? Yeah? So offline is really a pain for any system. And in Logstash, we introduced a feature that lets you dump all your plugins so you get your connected to the internet, to the real life Logstash. You install all your plugins there, and then you can dump all your current plugin status to a .gz file or a zip file that you can use to install all your plugins in the offline environment. Yes? Another thing that we updated, we enabled and facilitated in documentation and in everything is how to use your custom Ruby Gems server. Because if you are in an offline environment, you might not want to access Ruby Gems, that's the public one, but you might want to actually access your local gem server here. So 2 things important to know. You can dump all this offline and install your plugins directly from a file system file, or you can actually install it from your local or your very own plugin repository. We changed one thing here is not from 5.0 on, Logstash uses the same kind of experience for all the Elastic stack. So we changed it bin Logstash bin plugin to be bin Logstash plugin. Yeah? This is important. These are the set of commands that you can do. So if you are working in an offline environment, you can create your pack of plugins, you can unpack a pack of plugins, and you can install something local. And this is a collection of gem files that you can use, gem servers that you can use to work in your offline environment. The pipeline. Does anyone knows where this picture is coming from? This is the Alaska pipeline, who takes all the gas and petrol from the Alaska to the US. Pipeline components. This is how the pipeline used to look like before 2.3, before 2.2 something. How it looks like now is like this. So we changed it from having different stages, input, filter, and outputs, to have only one stage, filter and outputs. This means that we don't have anymore a conflict between filter and outputs, and we can scale this unit to more. So all your configuration got changes in the command line level to enable this batch processing here, because this takes batches of events from the input and put it on the output. Yeah? This is very important because this gives you a lot of more performance, because there is no need of more context switching on the thread, etc., etc. Yeah. FileBit. FileBit is the successor of Logstash Forwarder. Monica already told all of you about it yesterday. Logstash Forwarder is deprecated. If you use Logstash Forwarder, move to FileBit. Simple. To enable this transition be less painful, we enabled the FileBit input to actually listen to the same protocol and the same ports. So we are working very hard to make this transition very easy for you. Logstash FileBit is written in Go, has a YAML configuration file, is here for you in dep, RPM, Linux, etc. Has similar features from Logstash Forwarder. It sends data directly to Elasticsearch. So you don't have to go, for sure, only to Logstash, but you can go to Logstash if you want. It has security, HTTPS, TLS for Logstash, etc. And this is what I showed you before. This is how the configuration looks like, including the multi-line pattern. This is how the output looks like. I didn't show it before, but you can actually send stuff to Logstash or send the stuff directly to Elasticsearch. I'm not sure if you all know, but Elasticsearch got the ingest node. Ingest node is basically the power of Logstash filters going to Elasticsearch. So maybe for your use case, you already got JSON. You move this JSON through FileBit directly to Elasticsearch and do the processing thing here. Yeah? So we get you many ways of putting data to Elasticsearch. Yeah, this is what I was telling you before about the migration. One thing that everyone is aware and why Logstash is so great is because we have a ton of plugins. But a ton of plugins with a very small team that needs to take care of core, needs to take care of issues, etc., means we cannot maintain everything. So we enabled the community maintainers program. This means that basically we have to thank a lot of people that takes ownership of their plugins and maintains maybe not just their plugins, but another ones that are community-based. And yeah, I don't know what to say, but this is like thank you, because one of the best things that can happen is that the same community is self-healing on trying to fix stuff here. If you are interested to become a community maintainer, look for it on the internet. I know the URL is not friendly, but you can Google for it. And yeah, I know. That's just to say thank you in this slide. Very important slide. Breaking changes. I introduced this before with the Java event. We try to make sure that we don't break anything unless you are in a major version. What changes in 5.0? New event API. In 5.0, we don't let mutation to happen in some circumstances because mutation is evil. If you had a configuration in Logstash that did these mutation events that happened, this mutation is going to break in 5.0. So basically, you're going to start your old configuration and Logstash is going to complain. As I said before, Vim plugin is now Logstash plugins. We require Java 8 because, as all of you know, Java 7 is gone. It's end of life. Yeah. Another important thing, now we have a fix for the string interpolation problem. So before, everything was converted to a string. Now, we are sure that you use the right type there. So for example, if you are doing geolocation transformations, be sure that what you are storing is an integer or a number, not actually a string. We add support for Xpacks. Xpacks is the collection of plugins that Elastic is working on and enabling the community to work on also need to have verticals. So this means that the idea is that you get a pack for monitoring. And you get your monitoring things for Elasticsearch, for Cabana, for Logstash, for Bit, etc. We did a ton of runner cleanup. This means basically that don't use the agent option anymore. We did a lot of cleanup because we introduced the settings file. So we want to move stuff that usually happened in the command options to the settings. Yeah? So, do you get more questions? Any question about changes in Logstash? No? All of you are sleeping or hungry? So, now let's see how this looks like here. Just put the displays again. So how this was going, yeah. No complaints, created a lot of charts, yeah. Uploading some stuff here. File bit is processing. So, important things that I wanted to show now is we executed file bit from this directory. So, as I said before, file bit created this file bit file. The one that we saw here. This is the registry. This is basically telling that I read this file, this source, this offset in this device, this inode. Yeah? So it's making sure that if you stop it, you can continue. Let's go to Cabana. Cabana. So this is Cabana 5.0. We already saw all the stuff that happened here. If you use Cabana, it's very important to keep aware of one thing. If you see the SAT face, do you all see the SAT face over there? It's usually because of the time picker. We work with time-based data. So in that case, I'm seeing the last 15 minutes here. It's hard to see, but it's like the last 15 minutes. But I load the last year of data. So now I select the last year in the time picker, and I start to see some stuff here being loaded if my machine responds. Yeah. It takes a while because it's my laptop and it's very old and respectful laptop, but yeah. You see, so here we are on the discover side of Cabana, and we start to see the events that were loaded. Important things in Cabana 5.0. Actually, Cabana 5.0 made the right use of space. So we don't have anymore like this big label on top We have all the options on the left, and we try to use all the pixels as wise and intelligent as possible. This is still a JavaScript application, a client application. So if you want to try to load like the whole year, like I did, so it's taking some time. Yeah, important things to remember for Cabana. Complete restyle. We got something cool for Cabana 5.0, that's plugins. It's actually introduced it in 4.3.1. This basically means that if you have your own dashboard, your own chart that you want to create, for example, in my case, for this, we got a bunch of longitude and latitude. So it would be nice to create a plugin that shows a map and shows this route somehow. You can do it with Cabana 5, or with Cabana, and you get the generator. So you just need to know a bit of JavaScript. Yeah, so this is more or less loading something. And if I go to the visualize level here, yeah, demos. Why it's yeah. So let's do something intelligent now and work with the access amount of data. Yeah. So we are here. We not select the last year because the browser is getting crazy. Yeah. Sorry, demo gods are not with me today. We just select the last 6 months. Now it's a bit more faster. We select the time frame here. We can discover our data. We can explore our data. We can see here in the left the different fields that were created. But we want to create charts. So we can go here, for example, to the visualize. And one awesome kind of chart is the tile map. We can go to the tile map here, and we can, we select our index on the left. One important feature of Cabana that's very handful is the searches or the filters. If you want to narrow down your dashboards, you can create a search. That means, for example, looking for all cities that have San Antonio. Or you can create a filter. I want to see only the IPs like looks like this. I want to see the city Berlin. And the filters are good because you can create it, enable, and disable it. So for this case, I want to create a tile map chart with coordinates. Yeah, I select the geohash type, and I just look for the geo IP location. What this is going to show is the cities I was actually training. And if, I know what happens. I didn't enable the internet. Yeah, very bad. One of the nice things of the map, the tile chart, it is that you can load your own maps. So if you have a BMI compiler, BMI enable map, you can do this thing here. This means that if you don't like this, but your company got something of their own, you can do it here. You can actually create hash maps. Yeah. So now let's gonna see this. You see now we have something awesome. What is doing this? This is doing a count on this location. So we see like I live in Berlin. No, I live in Berlin. I used to do some running in Santiago, and it's not under time range, but the time range, it actually says something that I was running in San Francisco too. Another very cool feature of this is if we change this to this another file here. So what is activities labs.points.coordinates? Are the collection of coordinates of every run I made. So if we execute it like this, we see basically the same thing at the high level, but if we zoom to the Berlin side, we get a spoiler of this. Do you see that thing here? This basically means what I used to run every morning. So this is cool because with this map, you can actually create different kind of visualization of your data. Another very nice feature of Cabana, it is the scripted fields. So if you go to your index and you go to this field here, what is scripted fields in Cabana? This basically means that I got some information coming from my Elasticsearch database, but what I want is to actually do some processing on the visualization level. What I'm going to create now is, so I'm not a calories freak, but it's something that people like, to count the calories that they burn in a training, because then they can eat more chocolate. So there is actually a function to do this, and it's like here, because I copied to remember it. It's like this one here. Oops. No, you don't see that. Do you see this stuff here? So this basically means my age. This means what amount of kilos I weigh, and my heart rate. And this is an average to calculate the calories you burn per an activity, per the time you are doing something. This is a formula developed by intelligent people. But it's still an average. So what I'm doing here is creating a script field that for every document is going to create something, doing this, applying this math here, and creating this new field that only be available in Cabana. Be aware of something. This is slow. This is something that you have to use with a lot of care because it is something that's very resource consuming. And it uses the Lucene expression syntax. So if you always forget about which kind of syntax should I use here, is Lucene expressions. I'm creating the field. Now we see calories here, and we can do something cool that we can go to the visualize, and we can do, for example, metrics. Let's do something different. Let's go here, create a new dashboard, and create a data table. So one of the important metrics of everyone that does some sports is how much of running do you do per week. So here we see like the number of events. We can split the rows with a date histogram and wrap them up by a weekly basis. What do we do here? Counting the number of times of events that happens every week. But we can change this metric and add another metric. For example, we can do the average of P's. So how fast I was going every training in average per week. We can add another metric that's the average of speed. Average speed that happens every week. We can sort these things like this. We can sort every field here. And we spoke about the scripted fields in Cabana. So we can use them here, like the average calories. Yeah? And we see here the average calories and an awesome chart failure. But this is basically doing the calculation, fetching the data and doing the calculation for it here. This is interesting because it's giving you a good sense of information, and it's using the different things here. Another nice chart that we can build, and another awesome feature of Cabana, is this thing. For a bar chart, for example, let's say I want to calculate how many kilometers I run per week. So I do a date histogram. I do like weekly. I go to the x-axis, and I do like the sum of distance is here, activities distance. Yeah? This is actually the number of kilometers run per week. 1 week 70, another week 73, another week 20, another week 18, yeah? But we got this in a green thing, in a green color. What happens if this maybe is not like the number of kilometers, but it's the number of failures, or if something is positive and negative? So we don't want these colors to be, you don't want the green color to be meaning something bad, because green is good. So you can actually go here, and you can go here and pick up your color. One of the things that Cabana was not kind of good enough is on picking the right color. We always got like this slightly different reds for two different things, or yeah, red thing for something good, something like this. So you can change here. And now everything is blue, or everything is like this, or like this, yeah? Or we keep it like this. Another important thing, and that happens in a ton of situations, is the labels. Here it says, in this legend, it says sum of activities, distance. But what I want to do, for example, is to say that this is distance in kilometers. So I can use the custom label field to basically change this in here. Yeah? This is kind of cool. Be aware of one thing. This is taking just this label here. So if you get like a multilingual environment, you cannot do that. You just have to get only different Cabanas for different languages if you want to apply this. Let's save this. Here, we give it a name, like, I don't know, week, kilometers. And we go to dashboard. One of the things that you're going to do here, obviously, is to add this chart stuff. So I think all of you will relate to my appreciation to this feature, because the biggest complaint for dashboards is when they are white, right? Because we don't want white things. We like black stuff. So Cabana recently introduced it in the advanced options, like here. Oops, let's look for it, black. Oh no, it's dark. Yeah, default dark theme here. Yeah? So we get an option to change the white for the black. And now our dashboards should be black. Well, let's create a new one. I see now. Yeah, now it applies this stuff. Yeah. So now our dashboards are black. I mean, it's a very small change, but very powerful to get these things here. I especially like it. Yeah. Things that are important to know is in Cabana you can export and import everything. So what I did previously, because I have a very bad memory and always you do demos and you forget about the stuff, so I exported my whole set of dashboards here. But in this case, you can actually do import and export. So if you want to import something, you go to the import stuff, yeah, and you can go. Yep, sorry. Here, here, here. Yeah, well, oh, I have something missing, but you will see it now anyways. If we reload, the stuff you see, like this created a lot of stuff. What's missing actually is in my export, I created another scripted field that's called distance in kilometers. So that's what it was complaining. Yeah, so now we can go here, and maybe we can just load, I don't know, total calories of stuff. So this is the dash I already created. This is very important because I don't know how many of you are testing your dashboards before they go to production. So in some cases, people want to test it in a staging environment, and then they want to move everything. And to do that, you can do this export, or you can actually dump your Cabana index. So this is basically all. And end of the day, your dashboard should look like something like this. And it's the one that's complaining is missing distance. So yeah. But we can actually do it, so we have time. Just look for the formula. Nope, this one not.
So you have like 4 minutes time. So
Yeah, I will do this formula, and then we can have some awesome questions.
or some lunch.
Or food. Food is good too. So you go this here, you go to the index stuff, and you create a new scripting field. Now we create the field, and now our dashboards are going to be awesome. Nope, no picking up. Anyways, no picking up the change. Yeah, so this is the dashboard, including the failure in the scripted fields stuff. And not but not least, thank you very much. So this has been all. I did my best to do a good demo, but. So do you have any questions? Or you all are super hungry and want to go get some food? No questions? Yeah? So the question is if it's possible to add metadata to your log entries. It is possible to enrich your event, and it's possible to query things like Elasticsearch and ZeroMQ and other systems in the filter stage to get more data into your event. Yeah. Yeah? On the browser side. So my advice with the scripted fields is they are nice, but use it with a lot of love and care. Usually you want to do these pre-computations before. You don't want to do it in the browser side. More questions? Yeah?
Is FileBit able to pass timestamps?
FileBit is the agent that's going to be responsible to send your data to the server, to the servers. As far as I know, it's not possible to parse these timestamps like it is with Logstash and filters. But yeah, I'm not sure the direction of these things. More questions? Don't be shy. You can have questions.
I think everyone is hungry.
Yeah? 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 I'm not sure how to answer this, but we have Monica over there who is going to be able to answer for sure. Yes, sorry. The question was if Logstash, I always forget to repeat the questions. And he asked me for that before. So the question was if FileBit is able to output to Elasticsearch and Logstash at the same time, like both at the same time. And the answer is yes. Thank you. More questions? No more questions? Yeah? Yeah? Yes? Yes. I know. But the only option that you have with multi-line is to actually provide this pattern. So the situation is you get FileBit. FileBit is responsible of harvesting your logs. So it gets the data, and if you ask him to do the multi-line, it's going to like look for a pattern, and when this pattern again appears, like compile everything into one line. It's not going to do XML processing or JSON processing in that level, in the FileBit option. So what happens is if you get a wrong XML, it's either a failure of your application level or something you have to detect later on after your shipping. You know what I mean? So it's not something that Filebit is going to do. In this case, it's something that you have to do like or yourself before or in the Logstash level. When he understands the XML and says, no, this is not a good XML. In that case, it works because I created my own XMLs, and it was with a lot of love there. But in that case, who is going to complain is Logstash. It's not Filebit. Yeah. Food?
I think food.
Food.
Thanks again.
Thank you.